Hello, my name is Wesley Hauser. Um, I'm the CEO of Elemental Publishing, which is just kind of a music publishing company, but this isn't really about that. This is a mathematical issue that I wanted to talk about and see if anybody, maybe if you have a background in mathematics or quantum physics or something like that. I'm just not, I don't know all that, but I was thinking of something today. I made a comment on someone's post and it just kind of drove me into opened up Pandora's box a little bit, and I was thinking about the number zero, and I was thinking about basically equals and opposites, and the concept of an equal opposite. And I was like, well, what really represents an equal opposite mathematically? What is it that we have it? You could have something that's equal, and you can have something that's opposite. You know what I mean? Like, uh, but the concept of an equal opposite, 1 plus 1 equals 1, you know what I mean? You have the opposite of something, which would be, let's say 1 and -1. So would its equal opposite actually be zero, rather than zero being a placeholder that we use, or the idea of zero actually kind of I thought about it. I was like, the idea of zero actually goes against kind of my beliefs a little bit about life. And I was thinking, it almost seems like there's energy in nothing. And I was thinking maybe the way that we approach, the concept or the symbol of zero that we use mathematically, maybe there's something about it that is not right. So I was just wanted to pose this question, what makes an equal opposite mathematically, and what's a symbol for it? Well, I thought about it, and I thought about in electronics and computer technology and things like that, you have something called an OR gate. And, it takes a signal that is either an input of 1 or 0, and then it combines it, in a way it's a gate, and then it produces another signal. But I thought of it and I said, well, say if you have something that is um, a whole. It's like you have two halves that are combining to make a whole, right? But an OR gate represents two opposites that combine to make a whole. See what I mean? So like if you were to look at an OR gate as the symbol, mathematically, this whole representation would be kind of like a mathematical symbol I would think of for this concept of an equal opposite, right? Because you need the full A input and the full B input to create the OR gate. To create the gate itself, you would need those inputs, right? And there is math backed behind this, because this is how a machine speaks. This is how digital logic is used, is with and, or, and not gates, things like that. It's Boolean algebra. So, to me, in a way, this represents zero. You could say that, let's say that A is 1 and B is -1. Like we say it's 1 and 0, but what if we said it was 1 and -1 instead of 1 and 0? You know what I mean? For the output. And then that would create zero. The OR gate would create zero, but that represents an equal opposite. Let's say you called the gate something else, but that's what it represents. So I used to get into digital logic, and I failed that. I went to college for that when I was younger, and I failed it. But I did learn a little bit about logic gates, and that just made a lot of sense to me. So then I kind of wrote it up here. This is just like, so if you think about, well, what is zero then, right? In quantum mechanics, it seems like most things are, it's a wave function of everything that is between -1 and 1, right? That would be really constitute what zero is. I guess you could have, it would be all of it, it would be the to infinity rather than there's nothing here, right? Instead of that, it's negative. It's like two sides going. They're equal opposites. They're competing with each other infinitely to create zero. See what I mean? Rather than like it's just a zero as a placeholder or as an idea of nothing. I really don't think there's like such thing as nothing, right? So that's what I mean by spiritual. I don't think the idea of nothingness that we have is accurate. I think it's really more like everything exists, and it's a big field of that is similar to a waveform represented in three dimensions rather than, that's my opinion. I'm not a quantum physicist or a mathematician or anything like that. I'm just, I have a little bit of a background in accounting and computer science and electronics and computer technology, and I'm kind of a, try to be well rounded if I can, But I deal with music, so I'm interested in waveforms and wave functions and things like that, and that seems to be what quantum mechanics entails, is a lot of wave functions. So anyway, I'm just putting this out to see if anybody has any different kinds of, or if I'm just totally off on this concept here, or you know, do we need a symbol to represent mathematically an equal opposite? If we were to do that, I think a good symbol would be an OR gate, or something that represents something that is something similar to an OR gate, and maybe we could use this kind of concept in computer technology, especially when you think of a diode, because a diode is just an anode and a cathode, right? Those are two, a diode doesn't exist without an anode and a cathode. It can only be a diode if it has those two things. Those are equal opposites to combine together. They're different things, though. They do different things. One, sends the signal in. The other one sends the signal out. The current. So, I mean, to me, that represents an equal opposite, right? In my opinion, right? And I just think, I don't know, I'm not trying to change mathematics as a whole, but, if it helps us in some way, why isn't that represented as a zero mathematically rather than, what it is, right? I don't know. In the OR gate, in the way that we have it represented, 0 plus 1 equals 1, but I don't know if that's necessarily true in the sense that I'm trying to talk about as an equal opposite. It'd be really more like, 1 plus negative 1 equals 0, you know. But I don't know, that's my opinion, and I just wanted to touch on that to see if there's anybody who has any thoughts on that, or if that makes sense to anybody other than me, or if I'm just totally off on this whole thing. I watched a couple videos on the history of the number 0 and a couple things like that, and math is boring to me in a lot of ways, and it can get real confusing real quick. So I just had this idea and this thought in my head, and I wanted to put it out there if I could. So anyway, thank you.